What do you really need to do to become a better tennis player? I talk to a lot of players that are very frustrated because they're stuck, especially older players. They're working really hard on their game, they're practicing regularly, they're watching lots of videos, they're often working with an in-person coach, but yet they're not really seeing improvements in terms of match results. So the question is why? What is it that's holding you back, and what do you need to do to truly become a better player? That's what I'm going to be answering in this video. Most rec and club level tennis players have a fundamental misunderstanding about what's required in order to improve and win tennis matches. And unfortunately, a lot of this misunderstanding seems to be coming from modern tennis coaching. Most coaches these days seem to be obsessed with trying to teach players how to hit the ball like the pros, but then if you go to local tournaments and watch the players that are winning at the 3-0, the 3-5, the 4-0, and often a lot of the time at the 4-5 level as well, the players don't have beautiful looking modern strokes. The players that are winning often have funky looking strokes, but they move well, they get the ball back in play, they let their opponent make mistakes, and they have the ability to kind of guide the ball into different positions to kind of force mistakes from their opponent. And if you go to Masters events, so you watch the 50s, the 55s, the 60s, the older age categories, the players that are winning those tournaments are very good players, but they also don't have beautiful modern looking strokes because most of them learned to play before modern strokes were in the form that they were in. Winning tennis matches is about reducing the number of unforced errors you make. It's about getting your opponent to make more mistakes than you by being consistent. And you want to record yourself playing a match so that you can see this is happening. When you watch yourself back and analyze it, you will see that the vast majority of points that your opponent wins aren't because of their great shots. Sure, they're going to hit the occasional good shot, but most of the points that your opponent wins are going to come from your mistakes. So what we need to talk about is what can you do to become more consistent, because that's what's going to let you become a better player. So the first step in becoming more consistent is your mindset and your decision making. When you record yourself and watch yourself play, what you'll find is a lot of the points you're losing are just through poor shot selection. You're either trying to go too big too soon, or you're trying to be too aggressive from an inappropriate position, or you're just flat out trying to hit a shot that you don't have the ability to execute on a consistent enough basis. So what you need to do is be more disciplined and play higher percentage tennis. And this starts with the way that you practice. I find a lot of players practice really poorly. They just try and hit the ball way too hard. Now, I'm naturally a right-handed player, but for the last few years I've been relearning to play left-handed, and because of this I've had a chance to play with a lot more 4-0 and 4-5 players than I did previously. And pretty much every time I step on the court to play with a 4-0 or 4-5, they're just trying to hit the ball as hard as they can. Sure, they're hitting some amazing shots, but they're making way more errors than they're hitting amazing shots. And then what happens when they get into a match is one of two things. They either completely change what they do and they start to float the ball and they're just trying to hit shots in a match that they weren't practicing, or they keep trying to do what they were doing before. They keep trying to rip shots and they just make way too many unforced errors. So you want to practice in the way that you're going to play matches. So you want to practice hitting 60 to 70% of your maximum power, because the way our bodies function, if we try and do things as quick as we can, we just are less accurate. We are going to make more errors. When you watch the pros play, sure, Alcaraz and Sinner every game tend to hit a shot, a forehand that's like 90 or 100 miles an hour, but it didn't used to happen that way. Players used to hit the majority of their shots at kind of 60 to 70% of their power, and these are the best players in the world because they know that if they try and hit the ball too hard, they're going to make mistakes as well. So you've got to bring that into your game, be more disciplined in the way that you practice, higher percentage, just take a little bit off and get more balls back in play. Once you've got the right mindset, the next thing you're probably going to need to work on is the intensity and the quality of your footwork and movement around court. Obviously, the more balls you can get to, the more balls you can get back in play, the more points you're going to win. It's as simple as that. But aside from getting to more balls, it's about setting up in the best position possible. If you get to the ball and you're not quite in the right position, it really reduces the options that you've got. Whereas if you can get to the ball set up in an optimal position, it now increases the likelihood that you can play a good quality shot, and it gives you more options and means that you could potentially be more aggressive. Now, depending on what's going on, there might be a few things here that you need to work on. So I'll start with the most common problem first, and that's poor quality recovery. A lot of players don't recover properly, which means they either don't split step or they don't split step at the right time, which means they're then slow and late to prepare. So you need to record yourself and make sure that you're recovering with intensity. So you don't want to be hitting the ball and then just standing there ball watching and slowly moving back to the middle. Whatever shot you're hitting, you want to be recovering with intensity. And what I recommend is to not let your feet stop moving for the entirety of the point that you're playing. And this is whether you're playing singles, whether you're playing doubles, whether you're at the back, whether you're at the net, and for the entirety of the rally that you're practicing. So if you're just rallying down the middle, you know it's coming back down the middle, still don't just hit the ball, stand there and recover slowly. Hit your shot, stay on your toes, be nice and light, nice and bouncy, and try and time the quality of your split step. Like I said, record yourself and make sure you're doing it, because then the next thing is going to be, are you doing a split step, and are you doing it at the right time? You want to be landing from your split step just after your opponent makes contact with the ball. So when they're making contact, you're in the air, so that hopefully you can see the ball coming towards you, and by the time you land, you can very quickly react and move to start to set up in position as quickly as possible. So potentially you might need to work on that side of things. And then after that, it's going to be your spacing and whereabouts you're trying to set up relative to the ball. The vast majority of players get too close to the ball on contact. So for all of our shots, if I'm hitting a forehand, there's kind of an optimal swing path. If I get too close to it, I have to compensate and do something funky. Same thing on the backhand. If I'm meant to be contacting the ball out there and I set up this far away from the ball, I'm going to have to compensate and do something funky, and it's going to reduce the likelihood that I can hit a good quality shot. So potentially I might need to focus on that, or I might need to focus on moving forwards or moving backwards more quickly. And there's often a multiple part solution. Yes, you need to focus on it within your practice, but there's often physical things that you need to work on in order to be able to do it. Most of the time when people send me videos for analysis, or I'm working with someone, I explain this and get them to go away and work on it. They come back and go, oh, that's really tiring. Yes, in order to play tennis well, it is really tiring. You have to get set up in the right position, and because of that, you might need to get fitter. Now, there's lots of different ways that you could do cardio. You could go running, you could go cycling, blah, 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 but I like to be as efficient as possible. One way that I like to get my cardio and my fitness is using the ball machine and kind of working on specific drills that make me move a lot. So in this video here, I'm just basically doing shuttles. I'm doing interval training, but by hitting forehands and backhands, just moving out to a wide ball, recovering back to middle, out to the wide ball, recovery back to middle. So I'm training the specific footwork patterns, I'm training the movement out to the ball, and I'm training my recovery back. Now, if you don't have access to a court all the time and you don't have access to a ball machine, then just practicing your footwork is a great way to do it that's very efficient, and it's going to teach you tennis specific movements. Now again, here I'm demonstrating this on court, but you don't have to be doing it on court. You can be doing it literally anywhere. But footwork practice is going to be the most specific training that you can do, because you're going to be using the movements that you use in a game. So they're the best options in terms of improving your fitness, and training your fitness along with focusing on it goes a long, long way. But for a lot of players, what you also might need to do in order to be able to get to more balls and get set up in better positions is train your visual system, because everything starts with how quickly and accurately you can read the flight of the ball. And if you can't read the flight of the ball, that's going to limit you. And the way that our visual system works, because people spend so much time on computers and screens and things like that, the visual system starts to down-regulate, and most adult tennis players' visual system simply doesn't allow them to read the flight of the ball well enough. So it's something that I highly recommend training. And if you'd like to learn how to do that, I've got a class that's going to teach you about it. I'll leave a link to it down in the description. And following on from that, we've got strength and flexibility, which are also going to be really important for using good footwork and getting set up in the right position. So say I'm trying to recover from a wide forehand, I need the flexibility in order to get low and get into position. I need sufficient strength in my legs in order to be able to push back. I need strong enough feet, ankles and calves so I can do a split step on every shot. And if I don't have the physical ability to do that, it's going to limit my movement. It's going to prevent me from setting up in optimal positions, and that's going to cause me to make mistakes. So if you want to get better, it's a case of working on whatever you need to work on. Obviously, it's way more fun getting out there and hitting balls, but we can only play at the level that our bodies will allow. So for a lot of players, it's about working on addressing underlying physical function in order to then improve. So notice what I haven't talked about, and that is the precise way that you hit the ball and specifics of your technique. And the reason that I haven't talked about that is it isn't your problem. It's not the thing that's holding you back. You've been focusing on working on that for long enough, and it's got you as far as it's going to get you. You need to start to understand tennis for what it is. It is a game of mistakes. The easiest thing that you can do to reduce your mistakes and win more points and more matches is to choose better shots, to play higher percentage plays. Then it's about addressing underlying problems that cause you to make mistakes even when you're playing higher percentage plays. And generally that comes down to setting up in the best position possible. Are you recovering with intensity? Are you setting up in optimal position? If you're not, you've got to focus on these things within your practice and your matches. And then do you have sufficient fitness? Do you have good enough visual processing speeds? Do you have strength? Do you have flexibility? Whatever is holding you back, you've got to go through it systematically, work on addressing those underlying problems, and that's going to help you to improve, and that's going to help you to win more. Okay? Hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully you found the video helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, it also really helps me out if you could do that as well. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.